What's going on, everybody? Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube, for being here. Today, I want to talk about the data in Israel. You know me, I like my printer. I bought a printer a couple months ago, and it's been all downhill since. And I'm just kidding. But I got the data printed from cases from August 11th, 2021 versus cases from August 11th, 2020. And the results are shocking. The variants are everywhere. So make sure you don't turn your head too much. You might catch a lambda variant if you turn your head too much. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I got the data out of Israel. That's the first story we're going to talk about. What's up, Cameron? Second story I want to talk about is freedom in America. I'm having debates with people on Twitter, aka I spend too much time there, aka I should probably delete the app off my phone. But in general, do we deserve freedom in America? Of course, we have God-given rights, but when our country becomes so ungodly and so wicked and everything's going downhill, I think that we don't deserve freedom. And that's not to say that I hate America. That's not to say that I hate myself or I hate my fellow brethren. I just don't think we deserve freedom right now. And I say that because I'm hoping to motivate, inspire, and lift people up to get back to the point where we do deserve freedom, because the reason we're losing it is because we're allowing it to be lost. We've, over the course of time, gotten weaker, more complacent, more compliant. And I'm not trying to play the victim. I'm not saying, oh, I feel so bad for myself. Oh, I feel so bad for us. I don't feel bad for us. I don't think we deserve it. And I think we need to get back to the position where we do deserve it. I've been saying this since last March, but I'm going to do some jumping jacks because I think this is just my perspective. I'm sorry, Mark Zuckerberg, don't ban me. I think mandatory jumping jacks would save more lives than mandatory jabbing and masking. So if everyone did jumping jacks every day, I think we'd save millions of lives over the course of time, because obesity in this country and around the world kills millions upon tens of millions of people every year. But if everyone did mandatory jumping jacks every day and lost a couple pounds, I have some pounds I need to lose too. I've been eating a lot with my friend here, but in general, if everyone did that, it doesn't make money for certain industries, like that one industry that lobbies politicians on both sides. I forget the name of it, something Pharma. I forget, PHA. I can't think of it, but there's a certain industry that probably wouldn't make much money if people, took care of themselves more and didn't just gobble up all the pills. But that's just my perspective. What do I know? God bless you guys. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to get it started. I don't want to waste too much time. I'm out of breath. I was like, why am I so out of breath? I forgot I did the jumping jacks a minute ago. I got a memory like an elephant. Do elephants have bad memories? I don't know. Is that true or not? Or is that just like a folklore? Anyway, let's not talk about elephants, folks. We got serious things to talk about. This is the data out of Israel. I printed it out, so I'm serious. I love my printer. It's like low quality, but it reminds me of the days. Remember MapQuest? You used to print out the MapQuest and you'd be driving looking at a sheet of paper. Those were the good old days before technology. So I like my printer because it reminds me of when I'm just driving around with a MapQuest in my hand. I miss those days. Did I even have my license when MapQuest was around? I don't know. Anyway, Israel. Okay, Israel is one of the vaccine capitals in the world. They love the jab over there. And according to the data on Google, which is pretty mainstream, they have about 64.4% of the population has at least one dose, and they have 5.4 million people fully vaccinated, about 60%. So you would think that, it would be getting better in the summer. But that's not the case, unfortunately. Well, we could debate that. But here's August 11th, 2020. That's now. That's like last year around there. But anyway, there's 7,668 cases in Israel. That put them as a stage 4. I'm on the CDC website right now. It says COVID-19 in Israel, level 4, very high level of COVID-19 in Israel. Everyone always complains about anti-Semitism, right? Don't say that. Don't talk about the Rothschilds. Don't talk about banking. Don't make fun of Ben Shapiro. Everything's anti-Semitic. What about the fact that you're telling a whole country of mostly Jews that they're level 4, too dangerous to even fly to, and you should be scared of them because of a coronavirus? I think that's a little more anti-Semitic than making fun of Ben Shapiro, but what do I know? I guess, hate speech laws and Facebook censoring videos is more important than demonizing an entire country. That's who these people are. They're like, don't say that mean thing, but we're going to say this entire country is like a level 4 scary place to go. It's like, that seems a little more hateful than what I say, but whatever. To each their own. Anyway, today, or what is it? It's August 12th. Yesterday on August 11th, there were 7,668 cases allegedly in Israel. on August 11th in 2020, there were 1,823 cases. So that's about 5,800 more cases this year than there were last year. Last year, we didn't even have a vaccine available. This year we do, and there's 7,668 cases compared to 1,823. So that's a huge increase in cases in Israel, despite the fact that 60% of their population is vaccinated. That's the data. Those are the facts. I just find it interesting. I'm sorry that I have such interest. They say in New York Times, they're like, don't critically think. It's they put out an op-ed. They're like, critical thinking's bad. Okay. I mean, don't you dare use your brain and stuff. You think what we tell you to think. It's like, no, thanks. Thanks for the offer, though, New York Times. I'll pass. So the deaths on August 11th, 2021, there's 16 deaths yesterday, and there were 11 deaths in August of 2021. So you could say that it's effective because more people are getting it, less people are dying. That's the excuse they're going to make. Or they'll say it's the Delta, the Lambda, the Beta variant, the Alpha variant. They'll go through everything until they run out of Greek characters, and then they'll move on to like universe. Literally, they're like, we're going to name them after galaxies after that. Cool. So there's more cases and more deaths in Israel yesterday, even though most of the population was vaccinated. 60%. And last year, there wasn't a vaccine available. That's interesting. If you go to Vermont has 94 new cases yesterday, 94. On August 11th in 2020, before the vaccine was out, they had 10 cases. There's all these articles. I'm going to read a few. It says, Vermont reports 10 hospitalizations, highest level since May. 5 things to know about the COVID Delta variant, which is dominating in Vermont. So, strike this up on the Delta variant. The Delta variant is just surging through, and, it's the fault of the people who didn't get the medicine, and it's the fault of the people who won't wear the masks. And we'll see what happens, because if you look at a lot of the data from around the world, last summer was pretty low, it's pretty low. And this summer, you're starting to see a spike, after they vaccinated everybody a couple months ago. And it will be interesting to see what happens in the winter, which was formerly known as the flu season. And we have to do a rest in peace to the flu season, because the flu season was around my whole life since the 1900s. Every winter, they called it the flu season, right? And the flu season is a wicked thing. It killed hundreds of thousands, millions of people over the course of 100 years. And I don't like the flu season, but I'm a little nostalgic. I miss it because the flu season was alive for my entire life until 2020. And then in 2020, they reported that the flu vanished, and now we have COVID season. So rest in peace to the flu season. Ever since Jonas Salk created the flu shot, I think it was in the 1940s, and that got released, 80 years of that never seemed to do any damage to you until COVID came, and now you're gone. And after so much death and destruction, in a weird way, it just reminds me of like Nintendo 64, something from when I was a kid. I shouldn't feel bad about it because the flu season's wicked, but I do kind of miss it. Rest in peace. Maybe you'll surface one day again. It'll be interesting to see what happens this year during winter, because it used to be called the flu season. Now it's called COVID season, and there's COVID on the loose. And in the summer, when generally respiratory illnesses are super low, they're starting to spike again, and it's your fault. I just want to let you know. It's not the company's fault who made the product. It's definitely not the government's fault. It's not the politicians' fault. It's not Trump's fault. It's not Biden's fault. It's not Nancy Pelosi's fault. It's not Chuck Schumer's fault. It's not Israel's fault. It's not Palestine's fault. It's not Saudi Arabia's fault. It's not UK's fault. It's not Boris Johnson's fault. It's not Doug Ford's fault. It's not whatever that loser from Australia who's locking down his country. It's not their fault. Just know any new variant of the coronavirus that comes out, you have to understand whether you got vaccinated or not. It's your fault. Mostly the unvaccinated, but it just don't treat this like a normal illness. Like when there were different variants and mutations of like the common cold or the flu, or if there's different types of diseases and illnesses that are striking the public for hundreds of years, it was never your fault until now. Now it is your fault. And I just want you to know that, because that seems to be like the main message that on the television. Every new variant, your fault. Speaking of which, I was getting in some arguments like I always do. I need to shut up. I need to get off Twitter. I need to stop typing. It's not healthy. I need my finger. I should be lifting weights and running and stuff. But, people, I've been trying to get the message out there. I'm like, I don't think we deserve freedom. And that's not to say I hate my country. I don't think people should be locked down, but we have to earn it. So I'll tell you my thinking. A lot of people, one of the number one things I heard on my page, right? Whenever I say stuff where I'm like, Operation Warp Speed, lockdowns, all this stuff, slow the spread, I'm like, it's like a bipartisan thing that I don't agree with. I don't agree with Republicans when they do it. I don't agree with Democrats when they do it. That's just how I feel. The number one thing I've heard from people who support Trump, who tend to be the more patriotic people, they love freedom, they love guns, they love the First Amendment, right? They've told me that the number one talking point, you'll see it in my comment section every time I make a video, you'll see it on my Twitter every time I say something. Somebody will come along and say, Trump had to put these vaccines out there, Operation Warp Speed, because if he didn't do that, we would have been locked down for 4 or 5 years. That's the number one talking point. I've heard it probably 1,000 times since March or April or May, whenever it started. He has to do this. And I'm going to get to a point. Please listen. He has to do this because then we're going to be free. I don't care if you were vaccinated. I don't care if you weren't vaccinated. I don't care if you voted for Trump. I don't care if you love him. I don't care if you hate him. I don't care if you have a stuffed animal. If in your head, if you're saying, regardless of who's involved, if you're saying, I need a big pharmacy product in order to set free, I need that to be free, you don't deserve freedom. You are allowing them to move the acceptable line. In 2019, it doesn't matter. They have tens of thousands of pharmacy pills available. They have dozens, if not hundreds of vaccines available. There was never a time when they were allowed to lock you in your house, shut down your business, close your beach, close your park, close your gym, print trillions of dollars in a bipartisan fashion from Trump to Biden to Pelosi to McConnell. They're all doing. There was never a time when that was allowed, and you were only allowed to be free if there was a product that they were going to basically mandate and force you to take. That's not how this thing works. And I don't care that Trump did a mandate. I'm just saying your freedom is not a bargaining tool. They don't get to steal it and hold you for ransom and then tell you they have a product and now you can be set free. So if you're a conservative or a Republican or a Trump supporter, and in your head you're saying, Trump rushed these vaccines to set us free, what you're saying is, I will allow them to do this. And in my head, my freedom is like a bargaining tool that Trump bargained with. This is why you don't have freedom. You let them move the line, move the line, move the line. And what you're doing when you say that, the pharmacy industry, who, by the way, lobbied Joe Biden, number one pharmacy recipient in 2020 was Joseph Biden. Number two was Donald J. Trump. They lobbied every single Democrat and Republican in the Georgia race. So as you guys are fighting, the Democrats and the Republicans over Loeffler and Raphael, the Ninja Turtle, and all these, they own both sides. They've lobbied both sides. They will get their way regardless who wins. So the point I'm getting to is there's multiple reasons they're doing this. It's not to set you free. You think Italy got set free because Trump rushed them a vaccine, or Australia got? It's not about freedom. You're not going to be free because if you follow respiratory illnesses or you're following the COVID data, it might never go away. So if you allow them to say, we can do this, we can give this to you, and I will make excuses for it, they're going to keep doing it whether Trump or Biden's in office. If you say, you can test me with a PCR test 100 times a year and then count those tests, and now that you're testing everybody and shoving a stick up their nose with a PCR test, and now you get a positive, and now with all those positives, you're allowed to take away things from me and rush certain things and do certain things to me that you were never able to do, you will be stuck this way forever. So the reason I say this is I don't think this country actually deserves freedom. And when I said that, people got furious. One guy wrote, well, I'm dumb and I think I deserve freedom. I was like, why would you call yourself dumb? I don't think you're dumb, but in general, maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb. But he said, I'm dumb, but I deserve freedom. And I'm like, that's such a weird talking point. Like you deserve, I don't think I deserve anything. I'm grateful every morning I wake up. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be able to stream. I'm grateful that I was able to make money doing what I love. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful that my thumb is somewhat healed where I can play sports and do stuff again. No one owes you anything. No one owes me anything. No one owes America freedom. If you're like, I'm dumb and lazy and I don't care, but I deserve it, it's like you're going to lose it. And that's like the mentality a lot of people have over the last 50, 60, 70 years. America went from a godly country that served Christ and served the Constitution, which was created by people who put God in there so many times. God-given right, God-given freedom, God, because most of those people believed in God. And most of those people used the Bible. If you read a lot of original rules in the 1700s and 1800s, in certain states and certain areas, they actually quoted, you could watch this stuff, they actually quoted the Bible in the foundation of some of their laws. It's not perfect. I'm not saying they copy and pasted the Bible, but when America was a godly country, it was a free country. And over the 1900s, through, I would say, central banking, Federal Reserve, usury loans, weakening of laws. And I mean, I don't even know where to start from like the 50s until now. It's been like a slow grind to hell. We're not a godly nation anymore. We're clearly not a godly nation. We don't, Joe Biden is a weirdo. They do drag queen story hour. They lock you in your house. They have people burning churches and they say that that's Black Lives Matter. They don't talk about it at all. They act like it's normal. We're not a godly country anymore. So in order to get our freedom back, that was God-given freedom, we have to be a godly. We don't deserve it right now. I don't hate America. I love America. But to sit on the couch and just be like, well, I'm dumb and I deserve freedom. It's like, no, you don't. None of us deserve freedom. We have to get in better shape. And I'm not just talking about physically. I'm talking about mentally, spiritually. We have allowed these politicians from 1960 until now to play us and act like they're doing something and go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and slowly just whittle down our freedoms. Everybody on the right wing loves Ronald Reagan, right? He's the hero before Trump. Ronald Reagan did mass amnesty, which was, I would say, against the rules. We have laws for legal and illegal citizens, and Ronald Reagan decided to grant amnesty. And now there's certain states that may never vote Republican again. I hope California does in this recall election. It's our best shot, but that wasn't really helpful to the conservative agenda, and neither was the fact that Reagan passed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. That act alone set Big Pharma up to take over the country like they have. And so did Trump's original lockdown, CARES Act, and Operation Warp Speed. So your heroes go back and forth pretending like they're liberals and conservatives, slowly whittling our country down. And now we're here. Now it's time to learn what they're doing, identify it, and come together, or at least have enough people standing on the freedom side to say, we're not playing along anymore. We are not playing these games. That's the only way we can get our freedom back. So if you say, because you like the former president, he rushed this product in order to set me free, you are letting these people know in big pharma, in politics, in the Republican Party, in the Democratic Party, these billionaires that really control your life on the corporate level and the funding level, they're like, dude, there's 100 million patriots who literally think Trump rushed a vaccine to set you free. It's the opposite. This isn't going to set you free. It wasn't going to set you free then. It's not going to set you free now. Are they happy now that everyone got jabbed? Are they letting no, they put the mask mandate back in. Israel's level 4 again. They've already established a vaccine passport in the Middle East between Israel and other countries. Australia's locked down. Italy is facing a green pass vaccine mandate. New York City is facing a vaccine mandate. Los Angeles is going to face a vaccine mandate, and they're going to do it in liberal areas. And then the liberal corporations, which control most real estate in Republican areas, a lot of the economy in Republican areas is either run by rhino phony Republicans, or most of the big corporations are Democrat. They're going to try to establish this vaccine passport across all 50 states in America. And there's a point I'm getting to. The vaccine didn't set you free. The vaccine was the next part of the agenda to lock you down and put you under digital surveillance and a lifetime of scanning QR codes. Look at France right now. You're sitting down at a restaurant. They got police coming up to you with QR scanners trying to see if you're vaccinated or not. That's really happening. So if you think in your head, because you like Donald Trump, you think it's loyalty. Well, I like Donald Trump, so I'm going to make up excuses for him. Well, I love Donald Trump and he's fighting for me, so I'm going to say that the vaccine was to set me free, or else I would have been in lockdown for 3 or 4 years. No, it's literally the exact opposite. And what you're doing in your head, whether you realize it or not, is you're moving the line of what's acceptable. If everyone said to Donald Trump, no, they would stop. But everyone allowed them to incrementally screw us, made up fake theories in their head that the vaccine was to set us free, when in reality, they don't care because they're counting cases on a PCR test. They're using those cases and saying anybody who died with a positive on a PCR test died from COVID. They're not making suggestions. Well, that tipped him over the edge. Well, he had cancer. Well, they don't care. They're just racking up the list. And this is all proven. They have health directors from Illinois explaining this They had Dr. Birx on television explain. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's literally what they're doing. So this is never going to end. And the Democrats think they're fighting Donald Trump, right? We're fighting the Republicans. We're wearing masks. We're following. They're not doing anything. Russell Brand stepped up. Naomi Wolf stepped up. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has always, cared about this type of stuff. But besides them, there's not a lot of liberals that are really doing anything. Unfortunately, I would hope that there's more that I don't know, maybe smaller account. Joe Rogan, I don't know if he's considered a liberal. He's doing something. Elon Musk did more than most. But besides that, yeah, the Democrats aren't doing it. Now let's go to the Republican side, right? People keep thinking these things are to set them free when they're not. You have to say no. You think listening to Trump or these people is going to get it back, but really it's showing them this is where I could go. This is where I could go. This is where I could go. So if you really want to get back to normal, which they have no plans of doing, it's going to take you going back to 2019 saying, I'll give you a personal example. I know it might be easier for me than others because of how I worked, although I would say I got to this position just kind of winging it. But anyway, I understand if you're an athlete or something, you have to get tests all the time. I've never had a PCR test. Do you know why I've never had a PCR test? Because I don't want one. Do you know why I don't want one? It's not because I want to hurt people. It's not because I'm sick and I'm afraid of testing positive. I don't want a PCR test because instead of just jamming sticks up my nose when the government and politicians told me to, I read the book of the guy who invented the PCR test, and I did my research on the guy who invented the PCR test, and I watched videos on the guy of the PCR test, and I came to the conclusion that the inventor of the PCR test said that the PCR test that they're shoving up your nose is not a diagnosis tool. I didn't say that. I didn't invent that. That's not a theory I made up in my head. The guy who invented the test that they're using said it wasn't made to tell you if you're sick or not. That's what he said. I'm not saying that. I'm not claiming that. That's what he said. So I've come to the conclusion, I'm not an abused show animal. I'm not a slave. I'm not a prisoner. I'm not an animal, and I'm not a testing dummy. So I don't want them shoving a stick up my nose 20 times a year. I will never get one. If they say you have to get one to fly, I'm not flying. I would have gone to Hawaii this year if they weren't trying to shove a test up my nose. And I said, no, I haven't done a spit test. I'm not playing along to the mass testing scheme. I don't believe in it. And that's how I feel. I'm also not getting a jab. I've had them in the past. I've had them when I was younger. In hindsight, I have a new kind of perspective on it since I've done way more research now. But in general, I'm not getting this shot. That's just how I feel. I don't talk about it that much because I don't want to be falsely accused of hesitancy or any of these bullshit programs and terms they're using to censor people. I'm not getting it. If I can't fly, I won't fly. If I can't work somewhere, I can't work somewhere. If they took all of my income tomorrow because of it, I don't care. I really don't. Like, this is my hill to live on. This is my hill to, this is my activism. Why am I not getting it? Multiple reasons, but one of them is if I thought, I still probably wouldn't, but in general, if I thought, okay, I'm going to get this and then it's all over and everyone goes back to normal, I still probably wouldn't. But in general, that would be a different story. They're going to do it every single year. Every single year. Once they pass the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, you could look at how many vaccines they had then versus how many they had after it. Could it have been new information that they got and great technology? Absolutely. I'm sure there's some fantastic things going on in the medical field, but also once the manufacturers didn't have liability anymore, like they don't for these new jabs, I mean, that's like a sweetheart deal, is it not? Dude, we don't have any liability. We can't be sued for side effects, injuries, or deaths. So, the schedule increased. And I'm not saying that's why, but I mean, imagine if like Ford could make a car and if people did something and they like fell apart, they had no liability or something. I mean, that's a pretty interesting deal for that company. I know it's a different industry, but anyway, the point I'm getting to is once you allow that line to cross, they then cross the line. So even if you got both of your shots of Pfizer or Moderna or your Johnson & Johnson jab, you now have, if you agree with vaccine mandates, you are now agreeing the government, the corporations, the schools, my boss, travel, airlines, whoever's doing it, you have now signed a contract for life saying, I will not only allow them to do this to me, right? Not only this Pfizer, this Moderna, every year, every time there's a booster, a variant, the numbers aren't what they want, they will put you back in line and you lose your fully vaccinated status. You're not fully vaccinated for your life. You're fully vaccinated until these same people that you gave the power to say, well, now you have to get your third shot and your fourth shot and your fifth shot and your sixth shot. And if you want to get that every single year, that's cool, right? That's fine. But if you don't at a certain point in your life for whatever reason, you're now in the same position everybody was in a couple years ago. And not only are you giving the government and the political and the corporate class to do that, you have now opened the door to, we can do this with any product. It's not, you think it's going to stop at this product? You just gave them the green light to do this with any product. And if they could do it with the COVID jab, why can't they do it with this jab or the flu shot or this shot? They're going to mandate whatever they want. It's more money for an industry that is taking control of both sides of politics. They lobby hundreds of millions of dollars. They lobbied Biden. They lobbied Trump. They lobbied both Democrats in Georgia. They lobbied both Republicans in Georgia. They're lobbying everyone. They even lobbied freaking Bernie Sanders, who pretends he doesn't get lobbying money. They got everybody under their control. So you're signing a lifelong pact of them being able to force whatever they want. Food, medicine, drug, injection, pill. That's what you're allowing. And I don't agree with that. It's not an anti-vaccine stance. It's really not. I eat what I want. I drink coffee a lot. People tell me not to drink coffee. Maybe I shouldn't. I drink water. Sometimes I have a soda, even though I knew I probably shouldn't have it because high fructose corn syrup is trash. But that's what being a free individual is like. I live my life. I play the sports I want. I go to the beach when I want. I work when I want. I pay my rent. I pay my taxes, although taxes are a scam and I shouldn't have to pay so much. But in general, I do what I have to do, and no one gets to decide what I can and can't do. Of course, I can't just go like shoot somebody or do something illegal, and I never would. But you get what I'm saying. It's like, this is what it means to be you. You're not everyone else. You get to make your own decisions, who you want to marry, what you want to eat, how you want to work out. And if you decide to be, 8-pack abs or big, that's on you. It's up to you to change that either way, regardless of what you want. This changes that forever. Now you have allowed the government, the corporate class, the media, whoever is doing this, the schools, the airlines, to force a product, a medicine product into your body, whether orally or by injection, that you didn't want. And if you don't do it, you lose access to society. You lose access to school. You may eventually lose access to the airplanes. You may eventually lose access to your job. Millions of people are being threatened with that right now, including 19-year-olds, including 20-year-olds, including people with natural immunity, including people who have from past shots Guillain-Barré syndrome, myocarditis, and heart inflammation, and thousands of people in this country, if not more, that are vaccine injured. It's not a conspiracy theory. Is it rare? Well, yeah, it's rarer than drinking water every day, but there are thousands upon tens of thousands of people who have been injured, and they know that. That's why they protect themselves. That's why if you listen to Bill Gates, he said on air, I could play the clip, well, everybody's going to get this, and if the whole world gets it, we're going to need indemnification. Indemnification is compensation for harm or loss, because he knows if 100 million or billions of people get the shot, that there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people who get injured from it. He said that, not me. I mean, it's just a math equation. If it's rare and you do it to 1 billion people, those numbers add up. That's just basic math. So if something does happen, even though it's rare, are they giving you a pass like they should? No, they're not. The drummer for Offspring got kicked out of his band. He has Guillain-Barré syndrome. These are real things that exist in real people, and they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit if you're 18 years old and you already had the infection. I'm sorry, but a kid who's 18 years old in that age bracket with that death chance success, if they're fit and healthy, that already had the virus, they should not be forced to get this. This is evil. This is wicked. This is beyond demonic. This is beyond, in my opinion, criminal. This should be a criminal offense to force somebody. That would be like forcing somebody to eat almonds, knowing that there are going to be tens of thousands of people allergic to almonds. Well, everyone has to do it because almonds are healthy. Yeah, but you know that it's going to hurt hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people, and you're still forcing it on them. This should be criminal. So I don't care if you got this vaccine or not. You are opening the door for the government, the corporate class, and the media to allow products in your body, whether it's medicine or food or both, whenever they want. This is the line. So that's why it's so important for Trump supporters to not say he rushed this to save me. He didn't rush this to save you. He rushed this for Fauci. He rushed this for Bill Gates. He rushed this for Big Pharma. He rushed this for the global psychopaths who have had this idea for a long time. He signed a universal influenza executive order, I think in 2019. He offered Bill Gates a position as a White House science advisor. That's who he did this for. And I guess he did it for people who really wanted this brand new non-FDA approved jab really quickly because they were scared of the virus. That's cool. He didn't do it for you. He didn't do it for your freedom. He didn't do it to set us free. Even if you got it, giving you that doesn't set you free. If you think giving you a jab sets you free, you don't deserve freedom. I mean that. Well, normally I deserve. No, you don't. We don't deserve freedom as a country. We've gotten too lazy. We are a shell of our ancestors. I'm just being honest. I'm not perfect either. I'm trying to get stronger and better, but we're a shell of our ancestors. And because we're a shell of our ancestors, we get a shell of the freedom that they had. And now that we have a shell of the freedom that they had, people are like shocked that it's happening, but it's not happening because of just the Democrats, and it's not happening just because of the Republicans. That's the two-party trap to get people fighting and not realize where it's coming from. Democrats have been conditioned and brainwashed to think that losing their freedom is a good thing. So you have the country thinking losing their freedom is secretly a good thing because they're fighting Republicans. And then you got half the country who is riding Trump's coattails so hard that they won't question him with anything he does. And he just turned into a vaccine salesman. So now at this point in the country, we don't need somebody sending off email blasts bragging about how good the RNC is. Do you see his last email? Ronna McDaniel's doing a great job. He sounds like Mitt Romney now. He's selling Moderna, selling Pfizer, Grandpa Moderna, the great vaccine salesman, selling big pharma products, patting the RNC on the back. He's like John McCain Jr. now. He sold out, or he fizzled out. The fire in his soul fizzles out, and he became a wicked man or something. I don't know. I pray for the guy. I think he's a nice guy, or was at a certain point, but that's not leadership that's going to save your country. And the reason I say this is because we're facing mandates right now. We're facing mask, vaccine mandates, all this type of stuff. And I want to say something that Thomas Massie said, who, by the way, Trump tried to kick out of the Republican Party. Thomas Massie said it perfectly, and it's something I was thinking all last year. He said, if you don't fight mask mandates, eventually you will get vaccine mandates. That's exactly right. So last year, when they were mandating all this stuff on state level, it was happening even in Republican areas for a few months. It's like a game they're playing. We do this, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. If you can't fight a mask mandate, eventually they're going to put the no mask, no service sign, no vaccine, no service sign. This was obvious last year. So that's the point I'm trying to get. People are so engulfed into politics that when I was saying last March that all this was coming, people were mad at me because they wanted to believe that Donald J. Trump was going to save their life. So many people are running circles around Donald J. Trump. I think Mike Lindell is a super nice guy. I think Mike Lindell means well. I think Mike Lindell has one of the best mustaches I've ever seen. But the problem with what's going on over there is not the information he's sharing. The problem is everybody's running circles around Mike Lindell because he keeps telling you that Trump's going to be back in office, or he has enough to get Trump back in office. But here's the thing. One, Trump's not coming back into office right now. It would be crazy, but it's not going to happen. But even if he did, this is why I say this stuff. Even if Mike Lindell was successful and got Trump back into office, which is not going to happen, it doesn't matter because Trump is the vaccine salesman. It doesn't matter because Trump was the president last year when they did 15 days to slow the spread. It doesn't matter because Trump extended and called for Republicans to extend the lockdown past Easter. It doesn't matter because Trump is the one who signed off on the CARES Act, which put all the testing, the ventilators, and the vaccines everywhere. It doesn't matter because Donald Trump was president from 2016 till 2021, and he didn't really do anything. I have more freedom right now than I did during Trump. He would have done a better job with oil, right? He would have done a better job than Joe Biden with the oil crisis. Joe Biden's an idiot. But besides that, he wasn't going to save you with the biggest issue facing our country, which is the vaccine and mask mandates and the permanent medical tyranny that they are ushering in. So if you're running circles around a guy named Mike Lindell, who's running circles around a guy named Donald John Trump, who was literally the vaccine salesman who ushered in the lockdown, you are wasting your time. It is a giant carousel where you are 5 steps away from the root of what's going on. And the root of what's going on is bipartisan. If I could pick one root of everything that's going on, it would be the testing. Because without the testing, cases, deaths, death by COVID, death from COVID. They're merging. It's all death cases. Well, we counted the cases, so now we can do this. Well, there's a lot of cases we got to shut down. Well, there's a lot of cases we got to print money. Well, there's a lot of cases we got to fund big pharma. Well, there's a lot of cases, so you lose this. Well, there's a lot of cases, so I can do this. Well, Greg Abbott counted a lot of cases, so now he's asking the hospitals to close down again and stop doing elective surgery. Well, that's the root of the problem. No one's talking about that, and it's a bipartisan thing. So you have to stand up against that. And if Mike Lindell or Donald Trump or Lynn Wood or any of these, trust the plan, it's military is going to save you, Trump's going to be back in office, they mean well, they're nice people. I'm not saying they're wicked people, they're nice, but it doesn't matter. That's not the root of the issue. You could do everything that Mike Lindell wanted to do, get Donald Trump back into office, and it's not going to help you. And in fact, in 2020, it almost worked against us. If Obama was president during a lockdown, Republicans would not have locked down. If Hillary was the president and she was trying to lock down the country with FEMA, Republicans would have resisted. Republican people would have resisted harder. Republican politicians would have resisted harder. And Republican governors would have resisted harder. Donald J. Trump was the perfect usher in because the Democrats were fine with locking down because they're already authoritarian psychos. Donald Trump gave Gavin Newsom, with his emergency call, Gavin Newsom, Phil Murphy, Cuomo, Gretchen Whitmer, he allowed them to have more power than they ever had. And for the first month, he was complimenting them. It wasn't for 2 months later. He was like, what are you doing? It's like, what are they doing? He always acts stupid. It's like, bro, you allowed this new era of executive emergency order to usher in, and then you're shocked that they're abusing it. They wanted to abuse it. Trump helped them get all the power of the Democrat areas. And then with the Republicans, he was more pro-lockdown than Governor Kemp was. Governor Kemp opened up spas and gyms and stuff like that, and Trump told him to close back down. He was like, I'll let you do it, but I don't agree with it. He was Mr. Lockdown, Mr. Moderna, and Mr. Pfizer. The point I say this is not to just keep ragging on somebody that's not in office. The point I say this is he made people think that they didn't have to do anything, and that was the problem. You should have drawn a line in March or April and May and said, no, I don't care if it's Donald Trump. I don't care if it's Ron DeSantis. I don't care if it's United Airlines. I don't care if it's Chrissy Teigen and Tom Hanks on an island, with badges. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's your greatest hero or people that you don't like. You should have made the point, this is unacceptable. But when I said this last April, people said, he's rushing the vaccine to fight Bill Gates and save my life, and he's doing it to set us free. No, he's not. And you're the reason we're not free. And then these people say we deserve freedom. No, we don't. We don't deserve freedom because this is the freedom movement in America, running circles around a vaccine salesman and a pillow salesman with a mustache who's telling him that he's going to bring back the vaccine salesman who was in charge when the lockdown first happened in the first place. If Trump was here, people would probably be even more brain dead. I thought at least the only thing I thought Joe Biden would do, I thought maybe he would inspire the best out of Republicans. I'm like, at least people will finally realize that nobody's coming to save them. I was like, finally, people will organize against vaccine mandates. But Donald Trump got all his biggest supporters set up on January 6th. So a lot of the biggest organizers went to the Capitol for the vaccine salesman. And now they're either in jail or facing lawsuits and had to lay low for 6 months because Donald Trump led them to the slaughter with his sloppy, wild protest that was a complete failure that I didn't go to. Thank God. You know how many anomaly, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't want to go to the vaccine. I don't trust a guy who's sitting on Twitter for 4 months saying Moderna, Pfizer, Moderna, Pfizer, Moderna, Pfizer. Cool. Go to your vaccine protest. It didn't work out very well. Now people are starting to say, well, Mike Lindell, I'm going to rebel again. I'm like, do you want to get set up again? Do you want to get set up again? People do. They want to keep loose. So we don't deserve freedom because now all those people are there. But now months later, I'm like, okay, if people will finally start caring. All they want to do is run circles around the vaccine salesman. So it starts with us. And the only way to beat this is to say no on some form, peacefully, legally, respectfully. You have to say no. Donald Trump is not going to save you. Mike Lindell is not going to save you. I'm not going to save you. Joe Biden's not certainly going to save you. Ron DeSantis is not going to save you. Mike Pompeo is not going to save you. Ronna McDaniel's certainly not going to save you. And Judge Janine's not going to save you. I don't know. I'm just naming names. But you have to get to the point where you realize what's happening. They're all printing the money. They're all doing this stuff. They're all funneling the money to mass testing. And then they act stupid when vaccine mandates come. Well, I don't want it to happen. Well, if you don't want it to happen, Why did you do all of these moves? In order to get from point A to point D, we're at like G. Let's say we're at point G. You got to shut down. You got to do this. You got to fund mass testing. You got to fund mass vaccines. You got to do a mask mandate. You got to scare the crap out of people. You got to allow this to happen. And now we're here, and these people are like, oh, well, I don't want it mandated. It's like, well, you did not. You did step A, step B, step C, step D, step E, step F, step G. And now we're on step G, and you're like, I don't want to do step G. Then you shouldn't have done step A through F. But they did step A through F because it's like a big WWE show where you think, well, he doesn't want it to be mandatory. It's like, well, he should have paid attention for a year and a half then, because it was always leading to this point. And he's just like, yeah, get it. Teachers, get it. You get it. And then, oh, I didn't know it was going to happen. You didn't? I did, because they've been talking about it for years. So, you know, long story short, I don't think we deserve our freedom. And I am not saying it because I hate America. I love America. I love this country. I love our Constitution. I love Jesus Christ. I love the Lord. I love the land. I love conservatives. I love Republicans. I even like liberals, even though they've gone a little loco over the past 4 years. And I pray that they come to their senses soon. And I think they will, because things are going to get real, unfortunately, if people act this goofy. But we don't deserve our freedoms. We really don't. We have to get back to a godly country, and we have to get back to a country of people who don't look to politicians who suck up big pharma money for idol worship and leadership. We have to get to the point where, whether it's Trump or Biden, whether it's DeSantis or Newsom, whether it's Cuomo or the psycho who's probably going to take over and be even worse than him, we have to realize that our future relies in us saying no, not us making excuses for something going on and saying that those people are really secretly fighting the deep state on Guantanamo Island because, you know, there's a post I saw on 8chan. Like, that's not going to work. It's not. And it didn't work all last year, and it's not working this year. The one thing I was hoping, I'm like, finally, Trump supporters and conservatives will stop running circles around this guy and finally pay attention to the bipartisan overhaul medical of America. When Democrats go full authoritarian, Republicans go authoritarian light, and that's the plan. Well, at least we're not the radical left. Well, at least we're not the radical left. Yeah, you're not the radical left, but you are worse than the radical left was 15 years ago. Obama in 2008 was more conservative socially than Donald Trump was when he got into office, and fiscally and economically. What the Republicans did in 2020 was the least conservative thing ever. You could even make a case that it was communism. I would say it's full-blown socialism when you do a lockdown and 15 days of slow spread and you're printing money, universal basic income. That's the Republican Party. When the Democrats become full-blown socialists, the Republicans become socialist light, but they'll tell you they're fighting socialism because socialism sucks. And you still buy it? No one should buy that anybody in the Republican Party is fighting socialism. They're doing a better job than liberals to slow it down, like slow the spread, but they're not stopping it. They're becoming a worse version of Democrats 10 years ago. So that's why, before I end, people think, oh, well, you're causing division. Well, you're calling out your side. I don't expect anything from the Democrats. I do this on a daily and weekly basis because if our side is just following the Democrats in a wagon, they're flying off a cliff and they're just in the caboose acting like they're doing something. They're not doing anything. And we're going to end up in that same place very quickly. And if a lockdown happens, apparently even faster than I thought a couple years ago. So we have to not just make fun of the left. That's easy. And it's not even productive. Convince people on the left of your argument, gain more support for your argument, but then also challenge your side and go harder at your side and make sure that your leaders aren't leading you to the same spot. That's the only way that's going to stop this, because they play off of this stuff. Real quick, and then I'll get to some questions and answers. Democracy plays us because we have so many people that we can blame, right? I could blame Biden. They can blame Trump. I could blame Cuomo. I could blame Newsom. They could blame DeSantis. And, you know, everybody's black, but there's 50 plus governors, 50 governors, 50 plus senators, you know, hundreds of House employees. And when one goes, another one comes in, right? When he goes, she goes in. We can get some good people in there, and we have, but overall, it's this big system that we don't know who to blame because they're all doing it. So it's like the perfect system. Well, it's Trump. Well, it's Biden. Well, it's the Republicans. Well, it's the Democrats. Well, it's these people and they just keep cycling hundreds of people, and you're looking all over the place, and it's all of them working together to print the money. That's the whole, at least if you had one leader, it's like, well, that's the bad guy. We got to get this guy in. They're all like puppets that are just doing the bidding of someone else. And if we do get someone good in, apparently they can't even do anything. Someone said, I lost my mind today. I've lost 500 followers. I have a lot of people watching, but listen, I don't care. Like, I'm not here to be popular. I mean, it's nice to be liked. Obviously, everybody likes that, but I didn't lose my mind. What I'm saying is clear, but people, if you're not this, you're that. It's like a binary thinking, and that's how they play you. And in general, one of the big problems is I show people certain things and they don't want to talk about it because they care more about popularity. If you're a conservative and you talk about what the conservative, it's not going to be popular because a lot of these people that you watch, who's paying their bills? Obviously, it's conservative supporters, conservative, special interest groups and super PACs and CPAC and TPUSA and, Mar-a-Lago, and we go to here and we eat dinner with them. A lot of this stuff is basic common sense, but a lot of these influencers don't want to do it because it's risky, right? If you're making a lot of your money from Republicans and Republican donors and Republican special interests, it's not smart career-wise to say what I'm saying, but I'm not pigeonholed in that. And in general, I don't think I would care anyway, even if I was, because it's not going to work. So nobody's losing my mind. I'm going to read this real quick. All right. Shane said, I love how this guy acts like he wasn't the biggest Trump supporter when the money was right for him. He follows the money, same as greedy politicians. Shane, I'll say this real quick. So I've taken $0 from Big Pharma. Okay. I've taken zero money from Big Pharma. So I'm allowed to tell you the truth about what I think about the lockdowns and Operation Warp Speed because I don't get paid off. I'm the opposite of a sellout. I've made $0 from Big Pharma special interests. Donald Trump has taken millions of dollars from special interests. You can look it up on Open Secrets. Joe Biden took over $8 million. Donald Trump has taken millions of dollars from Big Pharma. Donald Trump has done this since 2016, and he also put a pharma lobbyist as the head of human health services, Alex Azar. So Donald Trump is taking money. Donald Trump is selling you out to the industries just like other politicians. I'm not. So Trump did a great job for the first 3 years. He did a terrible job in the fourth year. He let socialism, communism, medical tyranny, and big pharma corruption take over the country. And then he turned into a vaccine salesman. And I'm just identifying it. So this idea that I sold out is the exact opposite. And this guy support. Yeah, I support people when they do the right thing, not when they usher in a new era of human slavery. Yeah, I'm going to have a different opinion than I did in 2019 and 2020. It's so obvious, but it's fine. You see the type of stuff. I don't want to, I'm going to read more comments, but it's like, you see how perfectly these elites play you. Donald Trump prints $6 trillion, leaves office. Joe Biden comes in, does a terrible job. And now you blame Joe Biden. Well, he's doing inflation. He's doing the oil prices. That's his fault. But inflation is a bipartisan operation. It's Trump, it's McConnell, it's Pelosi. But you think Anomaly tells me that, so he must be sold out. This is why you're going to run back to the ballot box to vote in, and they're going to do the same exact thing. And then they're going to keep throwing you back and forth like an Atari ping pong game, and you're never going to figure it out. And then I say this, and people's minds blown. Someone said over $6 trillion spent in less than a year with Trump. That wouldn't have happened. I mean, I think it would have happened regardless who's there. I'm not sure what you're saying, but I don't think if a Democrat was there, they wouldn't have spent that money. They probably would have spent more. Someone said change is necessary to evolve, but it's not. I'm not changing that much. And you're okay. You're allowed to turn in from a caterpillar into a butterfly, right? You're allowed to evolve and grow and learn. But the thing that people are nailing me on, I didn't change. Donald Trump changed. He went into office, just to be clear, as a skeptic of vaccinations, and the media hated him for it. He left office as the biggest vaccine salesman in history. So all of these little Trump supporter fanboys, I like Trump. I voted for Trump. I made a song about him. I went to the White House and I got invited. But I'm a real man and I'm a real patriot. So I don't just suck up to him for donor money from the GOP and the RNC. I tell the truth to the American people, and I don't care the consequences because I didn't change. I didn't change on that stance. I've had that stance since I was 18 years old. Donald Trump changed. He went from a skeptic to a salesman. He took big pharma money, and he's been a vaccine salesman ever since. So at least identify the fact that your guy flip-flopped. People don't care. He's their idol. He has successfully brainwashed the conservative movement into their own failure and demise. So just get your facts straight. I didn't change on that issue. He did. This is a good question. Knowledgeable said, how come we just point fingers at the opposite team? That's called towing the party line. It's easy to do, right? If you're a Republican influencer, what's easier than saying, haha, Joe Biden doesn't know where he's walking? I do it on Twitter too, because it is funny, but it's easy, right? They call it a low hanging fruit. If you're at a tree, anybody could pick the lowest hanging fruit. It's easy to do that. So that's why people in the Republic, it's easy to do. And then they get money. If you're making money, you're speaking at Republican events, $5,000, $10,000. What are they doing? They're not paying you off essentially, but they're paying you to be a Republican, right? You get to go to these Republican things and say, man, the radical left really sucks, right? If you were to say, well, we're doing that too, people don't like it that much. So a lot of these Republicans, they're in their own echo chamber. And I'm not trying to pick on them and their character or anything, because there's a lot of great people doing what they can. But overall, they're more concerned with conserving their power, their money, their bank account, their dinner meetings, they're hobnobbing at Mar-a-Lago and stuff. So why would you want to tell the truth about Donald Trump if you're eating lunch with him and getting millions of dollars for your political campaign through people who support him? It's not profitable. It's not a smart career move. But I'm not a politician. I don't care who likes me. I really don't. Enough people like me. When I go out, I get recognized literally every time I go out, and people seem to enjoy it. So I'd rather have that on my side than, I don't care who doesn't like it. But you think these people don't know this? Of course they do. They ignore it because it's convenient to ignore. It's like your team didn't do something. Well, let's just talk about the left every day. It's like easy. Someone said, I wish you would stop talking about politics and focus on uniting people. Estelle, I wish you would get your own YouTube channel. You see I don't mind suggestions and stuff, but it's like, I wish you would do this. Like, I wish you would get 700 million views, but we can't all have our way. You start your own channel and you could control where the conversation goes. Jay said, your principles didn't change. You're sticking to them and you're being critical of politicians showing their true colors that abandon principles. For sure. And that's the game. That's the game. It's just Trump did such a good job the first couple of years, and his rhetoric was so good and his mouth was so good that people think he didn't go the route of other politicians, but he did. I didn't think he would do that, but he slowly did, and then he quickly did, right? And he's not the same. You could get mad at me. He's not the same Trump that he was in 2019. Read his emails. Moderna, I did it. I'm the father of the vaccines. Good job, RNC. Ronna McDaniel, you're the best. Blah, blah, blah. He's not the same Trump. He sounds like John McCain. Okay? When I liked him, he was Donald Trump at the pulse of every issue, at the heart of the people, at the crux of he was killing it for 3 years. Why do you think I supported him? You think I did it to be popular? It wasn't even popular when I started doing it. It was very unpopular, but I'm not a liar. I'm like, this guy's killing it. He's hilarious. He's talking shit to everybody. Like, I like that he was making fun of Jeb Bush. Like, that's funny. He stopped being himself. I don't know what happened, but I can't not notice it. Someone said, what's the solution to the mandated vaccines? The only solution is literally to just not participate. I mean, that's the only solution, in my opinion. Israel is 60% vaccinated, and they're having 4 times as many cases as they did a year ago. You could say that it's slightly helping with this, but not against that variant. They're going to do this forever. It's going to take enough people saying no. That's the only thing. It doesn't matter who wins. And that's why I'm going at Mike Lindell. I don't hate Mike Lindell. He's a nice guy with a nice mustache, but it doesn't matter what let me re-explain that. Election fraud does matter. Fair elections matter. A lot of his information is relevant, but getting Trump into office will not solve all our problems. In fact, they will solve way less than people think. It has to come from us. If you let Trump inspire you and you let Mike Lindell inspire you, that's great. But if you sit there and think they're going to save you, that's part of the problem. We need people to start doing jumping jacks. We all need to do jumping jacks and just become a fit, strong, mentally strong, physically strong, spiritually strong nation, okay? Mandatory jumping jacks will save more lives than mandatory masking. How come nobody's saying that? Well, I'm Ron DeSantis and I got it into the arm of 90% of my people. Cool, bro. Well, I'm Governor Abbott and I'm trying to kick off Gab because they're anti-Semitic. No, they're not, dummy. Oh, well, I'm Donald Trump and I'm the father of vaccines. Cool. That's what they're all saying. Very cool. How about if they did jumping jacks live on TV and told you if millions of people got more healthy, we'd have way less hospitalizations because of 78% of the COVID hospitalizations were obesity. That's the problem. Our country has been sucked over by Big Pharma, and Trump is being sucked up by Big Pharma. Biden's being sucked up by Big Pharma. They all are. Pills and jabs are cool if you want them, whatever. Yeah, go do your thing. But really, the root of our health issues are not how many people are vaccinated. And it's been that way for a long time. America is 5% of the world. This was reported by CNBC in 2016. I'm too good. I remember all this stuff. CNBC, 2016, 5% of the population, America, taking 80% of the opioids. 80%. I just talked to somebody the other day. He said, I'm in Australia. It sucks here, but I'd rather be here, even though we're in lockdown, because the food in America is so bad. And I was like, what do you mean? He's just like, the food in America sucks. They're just killing you with shitty food. Everybody comes to America. They're like, why do you guys eat so much? Why do you guys eat that food? Like, it doesn't taste like that in my country. America has some of the worst food, some of the biggest pill problem. These politicians don't give a shit about you. Donald Trump didn't save your life with the operate. He just caved to Big Pharma like every politician does. Our country is too fat, too on pills. And I'm not trying to be mean. That's just the truth. So if you really want to get to the root of this issue, they're all playing you. If Ron DeSantis wants to fully impress me, he has impressed me a bit, say, why are we counting positive PCR tests and using those positive tests to take things away from people? This doesn't end until people stop playing along. I've never had a PCR test. If everybody acted like me, this never even would have happened. I'm not saying I'm so special. I'm just saying, like, that's the truth. You know, if nobody listened to these people, this would all go, but everybody listens, everybody caves, everybody's afraid, everybody hates Trump, everybody loves Trump. It's a big freaking show. You're the star. That's what I want to tell you. You're the star of your show. It's like the Truman Show. You know, you're the hero of this episode. You save yourself. If you stop playing along, it doesn't even exist. I don't even know what a mask is anymore. I mean, unless I have to fly somewhere, it's like, I don't live in this weird world. I've seen 1,000 people wearing a mask and they look dumb to me. So it's like, I don't even live in this world. Like, I'm going to the beach. I'm going to play sports. Like, you cover your face with a breathing hole and look like a predator from like a movie. I'm not playing. All right. We'll read a few and then I got to take off in a few minutes. Raider 76 said, keep dropping truth and facts bombs for God and country. Thank you. I'm going to read this. Teresa Nicole said, I lost 40 pounds and got off all medications and work hard. I love it. Never had a test, never will. I'm not your doctor. I'm not your advisor. I'm not telling people what to do, but I've heard so many stories. When you go to the doctor, they don't even tell you in this country. They don't tell you, hey, you should probably like work out. Like, say my back hurts. Maybe my stomach's too big. I don't know. They don't tell you these things. They're just like, here, take this pill, take this pill, take this pill. It's their whole business model. So now their new business model is take this jab every year or we're going to ban you from society. They've successfully lobbied every corporation, every politician, your idol, Donald Trump, your least favorite person, Joe Biden. They've gotten everybody to force people to take their product. They have the best business model in the world. Imagine if your company made a product that wasn't even FDA approved yet, and you got the entire world and country to force your product into somebody, or else threaten them that they're going to lose their whole job, their whole income, their school, their degree, everything, their family, access to their ancestors or their grandparents, if they don't get the product. And then they get the product and the numbers start spiking again. And you say, it's the Delta Lambda variant. And you got to get another shot soon and for the rest of your life, or else you're not going to be fully vaccinated. What a good business model. To make the business model even better, they don't have liability from injuries, deaths, or side effects. A lot of pills and a lot of drugs have liability. These manufacturers have no liability. They have the greatest business deal in the history. We get to force and threaten and scare the shit out of everybody into getting our thing, or we'll cut them out of society. Millions of people have gotten this because they were forced and threatened to over their work. And then if something happens, oh, well, we don't have liability. We're still going to force you to get the fourth one. This is how sick these people are. There are people. It's a real thing. It's not, I'm not saying it's the most common thing in the world, but there is something called Guillain-Barré syndrome. There is something called myocarditis or whatever the heart inflammation is. It's so real that the CDC even reported it. It's mainstream knowledge. It's real. It's in mainstream articles from, the top ones from the left and the right. So if that happens to you, if you're one of the rare people who gets it, do they say, oh, okay, we'll leave you alone now that we've injured you, now that we've forced you to get injured, now that we've hurt you and possibly permanently damaged you, hopefully not, but maybe, do they leave you alone? Will they give you a pass? Will they give you a passport and say you have no, they don't give a shit about you. These people are sick, evil psychopaths, okay? And no one's talking about that, okay? DeSantis, Trump, they're politicians. DeSantis is a good politician, okay? But he's a politician. Trump is a good salesman and a good politician, but he's still a salesman and a politician, and he's selling the product. So he has no interest in telling you what I just told you, but that's real. These people are psychopaths, okay? How do we stop this? Stop playing along. Stop idolizing these people. Stop acting like they're going to save you. They're not. And the cyber symposium is great, but it's not going to save you. It doesn't even matter if Trump got back into office. None of this is going to change until you change. In fact, it's kind of like a cyber carousel. You run in circles with a carrot on a stick. He's the new QAnon. What do I mean by that? Am I smearing Mike Lindell? No, I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean, and it's accurate. QAnon would mix real information with a bunch of false hope and false, predictions, like a false prophet. So they would take human trafficking. It's real. Pedophilia, it's real. There's things that are going on in this world that are really sick. So QAnon taps into that and says, this is happening, right? And people are like, for sure. So Donald Trump is Batman and he's going to arrest all these pedophiles any minute. They're called false prophets. They take real information, mix it with false prophecies, and then sell it to the Americans to keep you sitting there like a Bolshevik operation. Bolshevik Operation Trust did the same thing during the Bolsheviks. When they were killing millions of people and they were rounding people up with communism, they told the patriots, they said, this is all documented. It's called Operation Trust. The Bolsheviks said, patriots, no need to fear. We're gonna, the military, there's high level people in the military that are taking over, and you don't have to do anything because the military is going to take control of it. So everybody sat on their asses because the Bolsheviks tricked them. That's real. I have the book. Let me see if it's over here. I don't feel like grabbing it right now, but I have the book that it's in from a Bolshevik runaway. Does that sound familiar? Is that X-22 report? Is that these patriots telling you that the military is not going to save you? Okay, they're mandating vaccines on their own people, and there's one fake meme. They're like, General Berger is against it. It's a fake meme from a fake article. He didn't say shit yet. So people are patriots. Trust. The point I'm getting to is that's cute. That's Mike Lindell now. He says Trump will be back in the White House in January. I'm 100% lied. Trump will be back in the White House in August. That's what he said on Steve Bannon's show. He'll be back in the office in August. No, Mike Lindell is the new QAnon. He takes real information, real election fraud, real people, real experts, and mixes them with false prophecies to put a carrot on a stick and run you in circles so you never realize, even if he was right and Trump did come back to office this year, which he's wrong and he lied about, even if he was right, that doesn't solve the issue. The issue is that both parties did this to you in 2020. So if you try to bring back the guy who did this to you in 2020, it's called Stockholm Syndrome, being obsessed with the slave master. It's like the only way this ends is stop playing along. So Mike Lindell is the cyber carousel or the cyber coliseum to get you to run in circles for 72 hours. If he had information that could put Trump back in office, he doesn't need 72 hours. He needs 1 hour, 30 minutes, but he's got 72 hours. Bringing on Dr. Shiva, bringing on other people. I love Dr. Shiva, and I'm glad he's getting a lot of airtime. I'm just saying he already had Dr. Shiva in his documentary. So he's just doing the same thing for attention and, doing his best. But if you want to be honest with the American people, Mike, stop telling them that Trump is going to come back to office in January and August, because that's called a false prophecy, and the Bible doesn't like false prophets. So it's not Christian. It's not biblical. It's somebody that's ego and excitement is getting ahead of the truth. So it doesn't help. It's QAnon. It's mixing real things with fake prophecies to distract the conservative party so they never focus on the real issue. The mandates that are in many cases bipartisan, in many cases on a corporate level, and there is no real fight against them because everybody's running circles around mustache man and vaccine man. And for the record, I like Mike Lindell. He's a nice guy. I think he means well, but there's a lot of people that mean well that I don't run circles around because I don't have the time to. ABI said, love your content. Keep the fire burning. In regards to the case counts in Israel, is it higher now because the Delta variant has a much greater RO factor, but is less deadly? But did the leaky blank cause it? I can't tell you what's causing it. I'm not going to claim that I know what's causing it, if it's the variant or not. But I will say, they have a lot more cases than they had last August, and last August had no vaccine. That's all I'm saying. They could tell you that it's because of this or that, and they can, try to make theories about it. I'm not going to theorize on it, but I do find it strange, and I'm not being threatened my whole life over a product that isn't even lowering the case count in Israel. I'm sorry. I'm not going to play this PCR test game my whole life. I'm not getting tested. I'm not getting it. I'm not using it to travel, and it never ends. That's it. That's the big point. It never ends. It really doesn't. I'm going to read this. Zabrina said on Facebook, thank you for being honest about your viewpoints. I've opened up to more of the bullshit. Thank you. Tina said you're refreshingly logical. Thank you for always helping me put together the big picture. Thank you so much, Tina. I appreciate you. I don't like to be mean, and I don't like to talk about people. I really don't. But I am trying to lift people up. Like I'm thinking this is like a halftime speech. It's just like, I'm not here to make friends anymore. I have enough friends. I have too many friends. I like a small circle. Okay. I like to meet people. I like to hang out, but I don't need a million friends. Okay. So I'm done. I don't want to go to DC. I don't want to be in politics. I don't care if I never get booked for a speech again in my life. I really don't. I'd rather be on the beach. People are trying to, Anomaly, can you do that? I'm like, I don't even want to schedule right now. I'm doing my own thing. But anyway, I want this to end. I want to see us get to a point where these people realize we got to scale it back. They are just incrementally getting crazier, and they're never going to stop. I want to see us win. I don't know the last time we've won big. Like, I want to see them realize they can't do this to us forever, because I want to go on a cruise one day. I love cruises, and, I'm tired of them taking shit away from us. So, all right, I got a little carried away. Thank you, Jacqueline. Here's the worst take I've ever heard. I'm going to read this. Well, Wendy said, your mind's beautiful. Thank you, Wendy. I want to read good comments because then people think I only read bad comments. But someone said, Anomaly is a lefty liberal. When I talk about spending, when I talk about social issues, I'm literally further left than Donald Trump on almost every issue. I'm sorry, further right, excuse me. And I'm not saying I'm like far right. I'm just saying the Republican Party became full-blown socialist. And when you print $6 trillion, you're not a capitalist or a free market conservative. They became full-blown socialists and soft-core communists in 2020, the Republican Party. When I talk about that, it doesn't make me a lefty liberal. It actually makes me further right than them. And that's not to say oh my God, I'm off the scales of far right. I'm just saying they're not right-wing at all. There's no free market capitalism clause that says if there's an emergency pandemic, you should do a 15-day to slow the spread printing bonanza. That's not liberal. It just breaks your brain when somebody calls out both parties. So you're like, if you're not with me, you're a liberal. If you're not a liberal, what are you, a Trump supporter? This is what liberals did. Are you a Trump supporter? I can't eat dinner with you. It's like, I'm not a freaking leper, with leprosy. Like, oh my God, I can't. You're a Trump supporter? I don't want to even eat with a Trump supporter. Oh, are you criticizing Big Pharma from both sides? You must be a liberal. No. Hold on. I want to drink my trashy coffee real quick. Stuff's trash. When I'm in a rush, I just got to grab it. Oh, my man Barricade Garage is here. What's up? I would love to chat. I don't know if you said you don't use Instagram, right? Just YouTube Live. I would love to have a chat with you, my man. I love your comedy, and I like where your head's at. Someone said, no, nobody can save us. I agree with you completely, but we have to resist. How do we get the people on board? I'm doing my part. I'm not going to act like I'm a freaking Pied Piper. I can get everybody on my side, but I'm making videos about PCR tests. I got a lot of people. To me, the biggest group is not Biden supporters. Biden gets downvoted on every video. Nobody likes Joe Biden. People voted against him or against Trump. The Trump movement, Trump has encapsulated tens. He has an audience of 50 million people who like the Second Amendment, the First Amendment. These people need to wake up a little more. That's why I kind of say take jabs at Mike Lindell. I don't hate Mike Lindell, but I'm like, they have, like, you go out and they're like, Mike Lindell is going to save the country. I'm like, I hope he does well, but I'm tapping into both sides as I can. But the biggest group of freedom fighters doesn't realize that putting Donald Trump into office isn't going to do anything. That's the point I'm trying to make. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Someone said, anomaly, I wish you didn't talk about politics. It's like, yeah, that would work really well. But in general, I don't always talk about politics, but I do most of the time. Just make your own channel. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not trying to be mean. Like, people can't have an opinion, but it's like, I wish you would do this. Like, I wish you would go, buy a new brand bike and have a great day. But are you going to do it? Probably not, but you should, buy a mountain bike and go for a ride. I don't tell you what to do. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like, everyone's like, what should you do? I'm like, I'm doing what I could think of. If everybody played their part, big or small, I'm sure we could figure this out. But I don't know how complicated or simple this could be. I live in a county and I live in a city. Most people are Republican. Most people vote Republican. When we had the lockdown, I want to say I was one of the only people in the entire county, or not the entire county, but the entire city, that actually did something. I mean, everybody was playing along to it. Well, I'll wear my mask. Well, I'm like, well, yeah, we're never going to be free if 60% of the patriot Republicans just sit on the couch and watch Judge Jeanine. I like Judge Jeanine. I'm just saying, sit on the couch, watch Judge Jeanine, wear a mask to walk 5 steps in a restaurant and complain about Joe Biden. I'm sorry, that's not going to solve anything. How can I live in a city with, I don't know, millions of people. I don't even know how many people live here. It's mostly Republican. Why is everybody playing along? Like, who are they waiting for? Well, Donald Trump's going to save the oil prices. Like, yeah, what are you doing? Why are you wearing a mask to walk 5 steps? This was happening last year. I was like yelling, like, literally, you think I just do this for show or something? I'd be at a restaurant and I'd be like, is anybody alive here? Are any of, like, hello? I'm like, are you guys just going to like do this forever? Hurt children, hurt elderly people, act like idiots. And like, I'm like the crazy one. I'm like Jim Carrey in like a psycho movie or something. I don't know why people are playing along to this, but it's not like, I don't get it. I really don't. But Tenny said I'm black pilled at this point. No, this is not a black pill. People say white pill means I'm optimistic. Black pill, for those who don't know, mean I'm pessimistic. This is not a black pill. It's the most exciting thing ever. You're free. You don't have to wait for Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump. They're going to do their job and you can do yours. Have a good day. Enjoy. Like, life becomes fun when you realize you're not tied down to what Donald Trump does or doesn't do. You can do whatever you want. It's a white pill. Enjoy your life. Do something, it's fine. Don't become your only. People get depressed when they put their whole life into another person and that person turns out to not be who they thought they were. Then it gets depressing. You're like, oh no, I thought Trump was going to save my life. I'm done. Like, no, let's all do jumping jacks and we'll be fine. Jumping jacks will save the world, but don't hurt yourself, because you could slip and break your ankle or something. All right, 10 more minutes and I'm out. Desiree said, I'm not free. You're right. I call myself a bougie free range slave, because it's like, yeah, I'm not completely free, but I'm a bougie slave. I got, I'm out here. I'm a free range. You know how they say to chickens, they call them free range chickens. Like, my chickens have free range and then we cut their head off and eat their meat. It's like, okay, well, I'm glad that chicken enjoyed a nice free life before they murdered him. So that's like me. I'm a free range. I'm a bougie free range slave. So I'm free to a certain extent, but I can't travel to Europe or else they'll try to put a vaccine in my arm. From Q2 King said, Anomaly is a Freemason. I'm sorry to hurt your feelings, but I'm not a Freemason and I'm not a liberal. That's the same guy. He said, Anomaly is a liberal. And I'm like, explain to him how I'm more conservative than the Conservative Party. oh, he must be a Freemason then. It's like, why don't you just shut your mouth, bro, and listen to what I'm saying? Because I'm not reinventing the wheel here for Skull and Bones or Freemasonry. I'm literally just talking about like basic common sense of what Americans can do. Make it make sense. He talked about Big Pharma. Yeah, I'm sure the Freemasons are just foaming at the mouth to call out Big Pharma and the two-party illusion. Unbelievable, these people. Someone said 10 minutes equals 5 hours. Anomaly people time is definitely very ignorant. All right, someone said Trevor Noah thinks not getting a V is like driving too fast. Trevor Noah is the biggest tool, puppet, loser. I don't even think he writes his own stuff. Like, you listen to all these shows. Have you ever been at a, like, I say at a hotel, because that's the only time I watch TV. I don't own one. When I'm at a hotel, I will literally skip from Trevor Noah to Jimmy Fallon to Jimmy Kimmel to Seth Meyers, and they literally say the same thing every night, brainwashing people. It'll be like, hey, did you hear Ukraine, huh? Like Jimmy, I'm like, Jimmy, I know you're drunk. It's cool you get to hang out with the Roots and Questlove, but you don't, like, Jimmy Fallon like hates himself. He's like, they're like, Jimmy, will you talk about Ukraine for 20 minutes? He's like, do I have to? He like laughs all the time. It's like the dude is miserable. Anyway, he's talking about Ukraine. Then you go to Seth Meyers. Seth Meyers talking about Ukraine. They all do the same thing all the time. Trevor Noah is such a puppet tool. It's not even funny. And he's literally not even funny. At least Jimmy Fallon's actually funny and does impressions. Trevor Noah is so not funny, but whatever. I'm sure he's like, oh, the vaccine means you don't drive fast with a seatbelt. It's like, shut up, dude. That guy's such a loser. The new comedians are total puppets. Yeah, because they're on major thing. When Colbert, I didn't really watch the Colbert Show that much, but even before I knew anything about left or right and all this stuff, when Colbert went from Comedy Central back to like mainstream TV, I thought in my head, he's probably going to sell out, because in order to get that spot, it's like a whole different world. So as soon as he went to whatever, NBC, it's like he's a total pawn. He's a total puppet. His job is to push the narrative. His job is to push not let anyone stray in their mind. You see, when Jon Stewart went on there and started talking about the lab leak, he was trying to like put him right back in line. He's like, let's not make a joke that's not approved by the Democratic Party, establishment. Let's steer that back in. We can't have people thinking on our platform. It's like mass brainwashing. Every night they push an agenda. It's very creepy. Someone said, lead us in a protest. Let's go eat with no mask. Here's what I want to say, unconventional. There's protests in LA. There's protests all over. There's protests in New York. I'm not against peaceful and legal protests, because I think it's like good for morale. You meet people, you do something, you raise awareness. The only protest that's going to work is when enough people just stop playing along. That's the only protest that's going to work. I don't even have to leave my house. I've never had a PCR test. I'm just saying, and I'm not acting like I'm so great. I'm just saying in my head, if everyone did what I did, it would have been over a year ago. So it doesn't matter. Like, we could go out in the street, but I'm not against protests. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying the only protest is going to work is when enough people literally say no. When enough people say, I'm not going to be bullied by my boss. I'm not going to be bullied by the flights. I'm not going to be bullied by, the schools. I am not doing it. I will never do it. Leave me the F alone. When enough people do that in unison, you don't even have to leave your house. It'll all be done. But they're doing it incrementally. They're doing it to them. Then they're doing that because if they did it all at once, it would probably be like, whoa, that's pretty bad. But they vaccinate, force vaccinate. And once the numbers get to 60, 70, 80%, like in Israel, you're not going to see herd immunity. You're going to see herd vaccine passports. And if you can get 80% of the population to get it, well, anomaly, I got it. So, why can't you just get it? It's not a big deal. I got it. I get to go to the baseball game. I'm a special boy. I get the lollipops. I get the Go-Gurt. I have a big Go-Gurt and I squirt it in my mouth. It's like, okay, that's what's going to happen when 80% of people get it. I'm sorry. You're not reaching herd immunity. If If Gibraltar's not reaching herd immunity with 99% vaccination, if Israel's having more cases than last year, you're reaching herd vaccine passports. And I'm telling you, once Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Donald, the great vaccine salesman, Grandpa Moderna, the candy man, Trump, once they get enough people to get their little slimy product, you'll see what happens. They're not going to take your mask off or give you herd immunity or give you freedom. They're going to give you a digital vaccine passport system that will span across all corporations, and enough people will want to do it because anomaly. I mean, I did it for work. Why can't you just do it? I get to go. I get to go see John Elton on ice. Don't you want to see John Elton on ice? I'm like, I mean, I do like John Elton. I mean, Benny and the Jets, like, yeah, I want to go. Oh, well, anomaly, you can't go. You have to sit in the unvaccinated section, which is really just a trash can outside. Maybe you could hear the music, though, you piece of shit. It's like, this is what's going to happen. They want to get enough people it so they can usher out the system. And if you got it, that you not everybody, there's millions of people who got vaccinated who don't agree with it, but a lot of people, it feels like a reward, right? It's like, well, I get to take my mask off, right? I get to do it. I'm a good boy. I get to see John Elton on ice, So we'll see what happens. Someone said, "Are you a comedian?" I'm funny. Every time I've had like every time they act like they want to give me a TV show, they just like rescind. They're like, "Do you want it?" They've hit me up. I'm not even going to name names, but they've hit me up 3 times. And every time they hit me up, don't talk, hit me. I'm like, if you don't want me to have the #1 show on TV, that's fine. But if I come, I'm not playing around. Okay. But I think I say too much. I talk too much shit. So I don't know if it's never mind. I'm not going to say it again because then I'm going to F myself over. But something about what I'm saying probably is not resonating with the networks. It's okay. Someone said Eric Clapton gets it. Exactly. Good guy, Eric Clapton, bad guy, everybody else. Who else gets it? I'm trying to think. I'm not going to name names, but I've been some rock stars and stuff have hit me up or at least like followed me. And I'm like, I just assume if they follow me, they actually like what I'm saying. I don't know for sure because I don't always have a combo, but there's other people on the low that are like probably not against it, but they're not as vocal as Eric Clapton. But Eric Clapton's awesome. Right Said Fred. Exactly. Right Said. What was the Right Said Fred song? Do you know the Right Said Fred? I forget their big song, but the Right Said Fred guy is super based. He's like all against this stuff. What's their big song? Van Morrison. Oh, I'm Too Sexy. Yeah. Those guys are like super against the passport and stuff. Yeah. Maybe that's my only chance. Tour with Right Side Fred. Not Eric Clapton. He's too big. He doesn't need me. Someone said Tom Hanks' son gets it. Yo, that video is so funny. I don't know. Should I play it? It curses a lot, but Tom Hanks' son, his name's Chet Hanks. If you go to his Instagram, he's got the funniest video where he's talking. He's like, everybody should get vaccinated. I did it. We're all in this together. And then he's like, psych, F that shit. He's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's like, leave me alone. I don't want to wear a mask. I'm like, listen, say what you want about Tom Hanks, but his son, pretty based. It was so funny. That's seriously one of my favorite videos. That and the Cuomo one. I can't play that one. I'll get banned on Facebook, but that's not why. I don't curse that much on Facebook and YouTube. I play it on Instagram though. Did you guys see the Cuomo one? They're in New York City and it's like, you got like a black chick. She's like, I'm not going to say it because then I'll really get banned, but she's like, Cuomo, she calls him the N-word. She's like, F you, and everyone's going off on him. And then this Italian guy's like, we don't claim Cuomo. F that. It's like a bunch of people in New York just talking shit about Cuomo. It's so funny. I don't know where you could find it, but I think the typical liberal posted it on Instagram. That's like a conservative account. It's so funny. I wish I could play now, but it's okay. All right, let's end on a good note. I didn't get that mad today. I always get off Facebook and YouTube. I'm like, I should have shut it down earlier. I was like, I should have just shut my mouth like 10 minutes ago. It's not bad, but I get in like these arguments with somebody and I'm like, I don't like to do it. I'd rather just not, but Someone said with the all-seeing eye pyramid tattoo. Are you talking about Chet Hanks? Yeah, I don't. I'm not like claiming I'm best friends with the guy. I'm just saying I like his Instagram video. But I mean, that's listen. I'll take what I could get. I'll take what I could get. I don't know who he is or what he's doing, but that's pretty cool. I mean, it's an important time to take a stand against the vaccine passport. So anybody who does that now, I will give props to. That's where I'm at. Someone said Anam is peaceful. I like to think so. Side talk New York City. Yeah, that's the funny Cuomo video. Is that not the funny? That's my favorite thing out of New York City I've seen in a long time. Like New York is back. Not really, but almost. Someone said the vaccine passport will be racist. Speaking of like racism, I've been saying, I mean, I don't usually use these words unless I'm being sarcastic, but I'm saying vaccine passport is racist, sexist, xenophobic, anti-Semitic. Like, they always cry about anti-Semitism. You can't make fun of Ben Shapiro. You can't, talk about the Rothschilds. You can't say that the ADL sucks, even though the ADL sucks. You can't, talk about media and banking power because it doesn't exist. And if you notice, actual literal statistics, then you're an anti-Semite. They call all this stuff anti-Semitic, right? Here's what I think is anti-Semitic. I think it's anti-Semitic to force vaccinate like rabbis in New York City who are Hasidics and who don't want to get the vaccine. I think that's anti-Semitic. I think it's anti-Semitic to say that Israel is a stage 4 threat to humanity because they have a coronavirus epidemic. I think that's anti-Semitic. Not making fun of Ben Shapiro. I think making fun of Ben Shapiro is not only not anti-Semitic, I think it should be mandatory. Listen, my wife's a doctor. I sell Bowl & Branch sheets. I'm not saying I would let the government force vaccinate you. That's crazy. I wouldn't do that. I'm saying if they did force vaccinate you, that's fine. I'm just saying if your kids can't go to school with my kids because they're not vaccinated, I'm okay with that. I'm not saying they can force vaccinate it, but I am okay with them being banned from society if they don't get it. Speaking of being banned from society if you don't get the vaccine, because my wife's a doctor, I sell Bowl & Branch sheets, and it's like, there's nothing anti-Semitic about that. It's mandatory. What's anti-Semitic is forcing rabbis, Orthodox, men, women, I don't care, forcing them to get a vaccine. That's anti-Semitic. It's anti-Semitic to try to force vaccinate all of Israel. It's actually really creepy. Someone said, is John Elton really coming on ice? Probably not, but I would assume, he's pretty gay, so he probably will be on ice at a certain point. No, I'm just kidding. But it doesn't matter. I'm just playing. No, I don't know. Yeah, I would assume that John Elton would be on ice at some point, or at least his songs would be on some sort of ice capade. But is John Elton himself going to be singing on ice for the vaccinated? Probably not. I think I made that up, but I don't know. It sounds like something that could happen. JB Beverly said, I got hip to your content via the Sticks debate, became a regular viewer. What's the best way to reach you with the story you'll appreciate? I'm not selling it, but the really only way that I'll read your story is on Patreon. I have a patreon.com/rare talk, and I'm not trying to get donations. I'm just saying that's literally the one perk I do on Patreon, because I don't do that many. I read every message and I respond to every message on Patreon. So that's the only way I would read it. Maybe Instagram, I might read it, but I'm not trying to be like selfish or get money or act like I'm too cool. I could literally look real quick. I have over 1,200 emails in one of my email things. I haven't read 1,200. I have a business email with like 20 emails. I get like hundreds of messages on Instagram a day. I get hundreds of messages on Facebook a day. I don't read Facebook messages. I kind of try to read Instagram messages. I just can't see things anymore, or else I'd be sitting on the computer all the time. So Patreon is like the only way I could read it, unfortunately. Someone said it's Elton John, not John Elton. Did I call him John Elton? I think I got confused with. I'm not making excuses, but I'm making excuses. I think I got confused with John Elway. Elton John Elway, because I was in Denver and they had Elways. They had like an Elway place to eat at the Denver airport. So I'm getting confused. I'm not I know my Elton Johns. I called him John Elton. That's such an amateur mistake. Seriously. Unforgivable. I called him John Elton. That's embarrassing. Let's delete this. Anybody who makes fun of me for that's hate speech. This never happened. Ban it and call everybody racist. I need to hire a personal assistant. I'm going to go in a second, but here's the thing. I manage everything. I'm happy. I keep everything. Now I have a merch guy. So I don't know. Here, I just got 6 new hats in for myself. So godblesshats.com. I have a merch guy. I pay him because he actually does something. My best friend who's here right now, he's starting to do some stuff for me because I'm trying to integrate him and get him on the payroll eventually. So we're starting a clips channel, Dreamer Clips. I keep my circle small. My merch guy is awesome. He's a great guy. I consider him a friend. My best friend, I've known him since 5th grade. I don't want an assistant I don't know that's going to try to Me Too me or something. I'm like, what are you talking about? I never even did anything. Like that time you grabbed the eraser, it just felt a little sexual. I'm like, I don't need any more friends. So I like to keep it small. I don't like to read emails that much. So I keep it small, keep 100%, give money to your friends. I don't want a big operation, but I have somebody to answer emails. I just have a lot of spam mail and stuff. So I got it under control. I just don't like, I appreciate the messages. I really do. I just don't want to sit on my computer all day reading them. And I don't want someone else to sit on the computer all day reading them. I really do appreciate everyone, but it's past that point. And when I go out, like I went to the fair yesterday, 2 people recognized me, took pictures. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying everywhere I go, someone recognized me. I literally can't go anywhere. I'll be on the beach with like 7 people and someone will come up to me with their family and I like it. I'm not mad at it. I'm not like F you. I'm not like a scumbag. It's actually nice and it's very rewarding and it's nice meeting people, but that's enough. It's like I everywhere I go, someone recognizes me. So I don't want to go out, come back, read. Like I like to like go in the real world, get away from the computer. It's too much computer time for me and everybody. I'm reading this. Someone's calling me anti-Semitic on Facebook. He says he doesn't, but he's definitely anti-Semitic. I don't know if you're talking about me or not. I'm the least anti-Semitic person. I am calling for all global Jews and non-Jews, the Goyim and the Jews unite as one happy family, and we could sing songs. I'll sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You sing Hava Nagila. We'll all hold hands, and we'll spin in circles until we get dizzy, okay? I'm the least anti-Semitic person in the world. I want to protect rabbis and Orthodox Jews and non-Orthodox Jews and non-religious atheist Jews like Chelsea Handler. No, I'm just kidding. But in general, I want to protect the Jews from being forced vaccinated and stop calling them a global threat because there's a coronavirus. That's anti-Semitic, not me making fun of Ben Shapiro. That's funny. And in general, this hate speech thing, people think you're not allowed to say certain things. For example, one of the biggest lobbying, I probably should just shut up and leave, but whatever. One of the biggest lobbying firms, foreign country lobbying firms in Washington, a lot of other countries can't even lobby because it would be looked down upon so much, is AIPAC, the American Israeli, Political Action Committee or something like that. That's literally what they do. It's like if I say Trump is taking big pharma money, people are like, what are you, a liberal? It's like, no, he's literally taking big pharma money. Like, I'm not saying he's the worst guy in the world. That's just what big pharma does. They spend billions of dollars over the course of decades and they buy off politicians and they get their way and they pay the people who make the bills. So they make bills that favor them, like the National Childhood Vaccine Entry Act. So I'm not being mean to big pharma. I'm not a pharmaphobe. You notice there's no word for that. Oh, what are you, anti-pharmetic? Are you a pharmaphobe? It's like, no, I just know what they literally do. So when it comes to AIPAC, it's not blaming all Jews, but American Israel Action, that's what they do. They lobby all these politicians. And I say that someone's like, it's starting to seem like you're really anti-Semitic. It's like, no, it's just some people are allergic from people noticing what they're doing. So, and then other people think you hate them. It's like, I don't hate anybody. I actually this is why political correctness is bad. Everybody's talking about anti-Semitism, but nobody's talking about how they're trying to force vaccinate millions of Jews who don't want to get the vaccine. Isn't that more anti-Semitic than talking about in a lobbyist group who literally lobbies politicians or a guy who owns a media company? Is that hate speech, or is it more hateful to put Israel on a lockdown under a stage 4 threat because they're sick? That seems a little like they're dehumanizing Jews. That's dehumanizing. Putting someone in a stage 4 like threat of the world because they have a couple thousand COVID cases. This is why political correctness is so bad for Black, Asian, white. It covers up the huge issues. These people do it, and then they start crying about people on Facebook. Someone said lobbyists are another big problem in Washington. Yeah, they pay a lot of money and then people do what they want to do. It happens on all levels. It's just they hope that people don't notice. And if you do, they'll say it's hate speech. That's kind of part of the trick. Someone said they're pushing the I got you. Someone said my ex-wife was Jewish. She was cool. She had the nicest smile and feet. I probably shouldn't have read that. You're talking about your ex-Jewish wife's feet. I don't want to get into this. Now this is getting weird, but I'm glad, Jay, that you had a beautiful Jewish ex-wife with nice feet. I'm very glad that you were able to experience that in this world. But this is, I mean, if you talk about like Black Lives Matter, you don't hate Black people. Black Lives Matter is a Marxist organization. If you talk about a country in Africa, it's not everyone. So I get that Israel is the Jewish capital of the world, but Israel is also a government. They also have a lot of lobbying power, and they're also like locking down or were locking down their citizens. Just because they're run by a Jewish government doesn't mean they can hurt Jewish people in America or abroad and claim that anybody who disagrees with them anti-Semitic. That's kind of like part of the trap, And same with the ADL. The ADL is an organization founded by B'nai B'rith, look that up. And, they're a Jewish international organization who does left-wing liberally things and says you're anti-Semitic if you disagree with them, even if you're a Jew who disagrees with them. That's like kind of part of the trap. So people use that word too much, and people should focus on saving the Orthodox who are, who want to opt out of this jabby, but they keep getting forced. Those are some of my favorite people in New York. They were going hard in the paint 2 years ago. I don't judge people by their race or religion. I judge them by how fat they are. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. But I had to make a joke of it. Sorry. Just kidding. Someone said green zone camps. See, I don't know. I saw the CDC post that Candace did about the green camps, but I haven't fully looked into it, but it's creepy and I wouldn't be surprised. All right, we got to end on a good note. It got a little creepy. Someone was talking about his ex-wife's feet. I shouldn't have even read that, but you're not going to hear that on Fox News or Newsmax. Nobody's going to read a comment about somebody talking about his ex-wife's race and feet, but I will do the tough reporting. I go into the trenches, foot level, and I'll tell you the stuff. I don't care if his wife is Black, Jewish, Asian, or white. I will report on his wife's feet because someone has to do it. The mainstream media is afraid of it, okay? The left wing is bought out by the hand industrial complex, and all they do is want to talk about hands, okay? The right wing has now been bought out by the pillow industrial complex, okay? Mike Lindell, with his dirty pillow money, is fueling the pillow industrial complex, and, the right wing won't do anything except for have a great night's sleep with 66% off promo codes. I'm here to tell you about feet because it's underreported, but it's important. Everybody's got them. Some people don't. And if you do, it's a blessing. All right, one more less weird comment, and then I got to go. Someone said, gee, I need a pedicure. Exactly. You wouldn't have even thought of that if I didn't say anything. Who should run in 2024? We'll end on this note. I mean, here in my head, and this is just politics, and then we're going to go. I would vote for Rand Paul over the rest of them. I think out of that whole field of people who will run, Rand Paul, he has libertarian type views. Like he doesn't believe in the Federal Reserve and stuff. Like that's some root level stuff. I think he knows how to handle the medicine stuff. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he is the son of Ron Paul. He doesn't like the Federal Reserve, and it would be fun to give him 4 years to see what he could do. And I think he understands politics way better than Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump was like Donald Trump, and I don't know that he was well equipped to handle the power. So I would vote for Rand Paul personally. I think DeSantis deserves it more than Trump at this point. I'm not saying he's perfect. I know a lot of people are looking into certain bills and statutes that he posted, and we can get into all the things I don't like about him. But I do think Ron DeSantis is a strong candidate. I think he wields power better than Donald Trump. He uses his power effectively more, in my opinion. I think Trump talked a big game, but didn't really do that much when it was all said and done with the actual executive power he had. So I think DeSantis deserves it more than him. But I'm sure Trump will probably try to kick Ron DeSantis and Rand Paul to the curb to go on Grandpa Moderna's world tour, sell vaccines, and tell you how good black unemployment was in 2018. So I feel like Trump is going to sabotage the better candidates and try to selfishly take control himself again. But we'll see what happens. Regardless of if Rand Paul, Trump, DeSantis, whoever runs, I don't know, Ted Cruz, whatever, people need to realize what they're doing. And I think the future of the Republican Party leads on the fact if people identify what they're doing or what they're not doing and hold them more accountable, I think there's a bright future. So that's my thought. And when it comes to this whole medical stuff, I'll just leave on this note. Trump, DeSantis, Rand Paul, they can only do so much. It has to come from our culture and it has to come from us. And we have enough people. When I live in a Republican area where 95 plus, maybe 99, I don't even know, percent of people for months played along to every mask rule because they were just being polite. It doesn't matter who's in the White House if we're that obedient and that compliant. So I think Thomas Massie nailed it when he said, if you can't stand up to forced masking, you're not going to be able to stand up to forced vaccines. So they took this away, 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 they took this away. And now, regardless of where you live, there's a certain something you lost. Even if you're in Florida, you lost the cruise industry. It's not the same. They're doing forced masking on cruises now. They're taking away certain things at certain areas. Florida is better than a lot of other states, but we've lost something. If you live in California, in LA, you probably lost a lot. Where I'm at, it seems the same to me, but still, the point I'm getting to is like, we have to not look up to these people like they're going to save us and really take a stand, because there's no way to end this until enough people just say no. It's the only thing that's going to end it. With the mask mandate, if 50% of the town stops playing along, it's over. And that's happening. But I really think a lot of conservatives and Republicans and freedom fighters, they love to talk about how much they like Trump, and they love to tell you how much they love the Second and First Amendment, but they'll literally comply, for months on end if they feel like that's what's going to lead them. So I would love to see, just like Rand Paul said, they can't stop us all. I mean, it was a bold statement, but I think that's true. It's like if 150 million people say no, like they're doing now to force masking, it would end. That's the only thing that's really going to free it. And all you can do is your own thing. So if you stop playing along to some extent, I think you'll realize like, wow, it actually works. But there's also consequences. So definitely, I don't know your position, financial position, etc. I don't like to give advice, but on a broad scale, it's like that's the only thing I think that's going to work. Thank you, guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Someone said the obedience is shocking. It was shocking. It's creepy. I mean, if you go to an airport, it's creepy. They're on the loudspeaker saying, please put a mask. It is a federal guideline. Make sure you wear a mask at all times on the airplane, or else you are breaking a federal law. It's like a shitty Black Mirror episode, and everyone's like, and you're like, this sucks. It's very undesirable. But, we have the power to change certain things. If enough people just say, I'm going to test the waters a little bit. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for being here. God bless you. And I will be back soon. I had a good time. Hopefully you did too. Hopefully people aren't accusing me of hate speech, because I was simply, for the record, I was talking about Israel. I was talking about cases and jabs. I was talking about that to lead to the most important part, which is your feet. That's the whole reason I even talked about it in the first place. I wanted to have a conversation about pedicures and, really taking care of those bottom two things. Because, if these boots are made for walking, and if you don't keep your feet in shape, it's not going to work out forever. All right. Have a good one, guys.